This video is about using Reaper as an alternative to Logic Pro to complete the mixing drums assignment. Reaper is cross-platform, meaning that you can install it on PC or Mac. And if you buy the license, it's rather inexpensive, but it's just as capable as Logic and Pro Tools for that matter. It's a wonderful DAW, and I recommend it for those who are working from places that are not our studio or our lab at Eastern. So our Dropbox here has the stem files from a drums recording session. And so you can download those by clicking on the link here, and it'll download to your downloads folder. Once it downloads, you will find it in your downloads folder by clicking on it. It'll open up the zip file, and you'll have a folder of 11 stem files from a recording session. Okay, I'm actually going to turn on my cursor so that it's easier to see where my mouse is. And then I'm going to open up Reaper. It's this icon here, and it'll prompt you to buy the license and update. And buying a license for Reaper is around $60. It's really quite wonderful, and it's really useful. So I recommend if you're interested in this sort of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to click and select all of these files and drag them into Reaper, into the window here. And just like in Logic, it'll populate your session with all of these files as separate tracks. Eventually. And it'll ask me for a separate track, so we're going to create it with separate tracks. So each file, kick in, kick out, snare top, snare bottom, hi-hats, they all have their own folder, or I'm sorry, their own track. And as we, just like in Logic, I can change my view. We can expose the mixer here down here, and view this automatically as a timeline and as a mixer. If you want to, if your mixer doesn't automatically populate and view, you can hit Command M to expose them. That'll toggle the mixer view. So if we hit play, right, our master control is down here, and this will give us a nice view of the waveform, or of the strength of the waveforms coming out. That is your summed output. We're going to bring all these down. We're going to mix by addition. And just like as in the Logic demonstration, we have control over the panning and the levels of each track. So we're going to get... Notice that if I put this up too far, I get the peak light, and we don't want that at all. We want this to go down. If it does peak and you correct it, you can click on the red light to make the peak light go away. It's meant to tell you that you've got an issue with your mix. So a little bit of an even distribution of kick in and out is appropriate here. Kick in will give you more of the attack sound, and the kick out will give you more of the decay. And then we're going to add snare. And we're going to pan that slightly to the right. Notice that the pan knobs are a little smaller and not as easy to see as in Logic, but that's okay. Next, we're going to add hi-hats, and the hi-hats don't need to be nearly as intense as the other ones. And then as we add layers, we're keeping an eye on our output levels. Our toms are less used, and if we go down to our toms here and scroll down and see tom 1 and floor tom, they don't get used as much. We can basically just bring them up slightly and pan them a little bit left. Floor tom is all the way to the left side, so we're going to pan it all the way left. That might be hard to see on screen. If we go back with our transport controls all the way to the beginning, I can use spacebar or the play button here. All right, now we're going to select the ride cymbal, which is also on the left side of our drums if we're facing it, and bring that up. And eventually it'll switch to a ride pattern in our playback right around here, I believe. These are our toms, and we can hear our toms really easily there. And all the while, we're keeping an eye on our output, making sure that it doesn't reach into the red, the peaking. Okay, so I'm going to solo our overhead mics and pan them left and pan them right. Pan the rightmost one right and solo that. Bring that in so that they're even. So those you can hear provide an ambient sound, and they are hung over the whole drum set to get the cymbals and just a general room sound. And if we add them to our mix, you can hear what they add to the picture. They make it sound a little bit more realistic. If we mute them, you can hear it's a lot tighter and a lot less live. So this provides a level of live sound. The next room mic is also even more so removed from the close mic'd nature of all the separate instrument files. And it provides a sense of, other room ambience, which is not as required as here, but it adds a little bit more, like I say, ambience. And if added to the mix, it's literally a mic placed into an adjacent room. And so we're going to bring that down and add it to our mix. So at this point, you should see that each layer has its own unique level and placement in the stereo field. Mostly, I panned instruments on the drum set to where they would logically be placed if you were to view a drum set. Snare drum is slightly right, hi-hat is farther to the right, toms to the left, ride cymbals to the left. Our overheads are panned accordingly, hard left and hard right. Finally, you're going to listen into and audition your project and make sure that your signal is healthy but not peaking, right? Remember that if we have anything sticking out, it sounds bad, right? And it also peaks. So we don't want to max anything out. We want everything to be kind of controlled. When we think we have a good mix and we're ready to make an audio file, we need to print all of our decisions to an audio file. In Reaper, they call that rendering. That's in the File menu and Render. So we're going to either select this from the File menu or use Shift-Command-R to expose this dialog box. And we're going to select our primary output format and our file name. So our file name is going to be Mixing Drums Demo, and I suggest using your last name and the file name. And we're just going to say it's also in Reaper for my own use. And then I'm going to say format. We're going to select MP3. And then we're going to say render one file. And it'll make all of our decisions and print it to one singular audio file. And then this is kind of nice. It asks us to show it in Finder. So I'm going to ask them to show it in Finder. It tells you basically where it's saved. And once I'm in Finder, I can use the space bar to audition my file. So I'm going to click the space bar, audition my file, make sure it sounds okay. Okay. Spend some time listening to it, making sure it sounds good. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to actually move this to my desktop so I know where it is. I'm going to go back to the Dropbox folder. I'm going to go and upload from the desktop, and there's my Reaper file. I'm going to click open and say, and if I have any questions or comments, I'm going to place that in the comments area. Mixing drums in Reaper. And I'm going to say submit to Dropbox. And there you are. You should get an email receipt of your assignment. If you have any questions, please reach out. You can use this video as an example of a decent mix. And you can also use this audio file that is linked here as a sample mix to go from. If you have any questions, please let me know and have fun. Thank you.